G'day everyone, welcome to the Kitchen Chronicles. I'm Luna.
And hi, I'm Carl.
This evening we're just going to do a bit of an introduction to the Kitchen Chronicles, why we named it that way, what we're going to talk about, and a little bit about who we are. So just to start off with, why we called it the Kitchen Chronicles.
Well, this is where we talk about in our house everything spiritual.
Which always happens in most houses because the kitchen's a place where you congregate. And what we found over the years that we'd get visitors from all walks of life and we'd all end up in the kitchen with these amazing conversations, and we have decided to bring them conversations to you. So thank you for joining us tonight, and we want to talk a little bit about faith to start off with.
Yeah, faith. Why not? That's a good area to start. This is an area we'll probably cover in one of our upcoming shows because we'd like to know how you keep your faith and what makes you strong in it. And, well, it doesn't matter whether it's from a spiritual point of view, a tribal point of view, or a religious point of view. We would like to know.
So, yeah, we want to know how people keep their faith, what keeps it going. But as I always said, Carl, whatever you believe and whatever your faith is, if it's working for you and it's working strong, stick to it because that's what keeps your light up.
Yeah, and for me, look, I get my faith from the sun rising in the morning because it never lets me down. It's something I have absolute total faith in that it'll be there every day and every morning for the rest of my life. No doubt other people get their faith from other areas. And like I said, we'd like to know. Some people get it from prayer. Some people get it from music.
Some people dance.
Yes, they do.
Some people write poetry and some people sing songs. We do it all different. Some people make things too, you know, and they create beautiful works of art, and that's their way of displaying their inner faith. I've seen some really beautiful art. So
that's an absolutely lovely comment that I've just read there. I keep my faith because God keeps me. God keeps showing me I'm surrounded by a higher power. That is beautiful.
And that's serious truth in the chat room. Welcome. And we've got Bernays. You're welcome, Bernays. I'm glad you can join us. So, all right, Carl, moving on. This is an introduction to what we're doing. So what else are we going to bring these beautiful people? We're going to bring them some nice guests.
Yeah, this is a show where we're going to have a call-in option so people can actually ring in or come through Skype, one or the other. And this will give us the opportunity to listen to people we haven't listened to before and, well, hopefully get more of a oneness between us, a bit more of a common ground and understanding. Because I think if we start realising we're all making the same climb up the same mountain, we're just on different faces with different points of view. I think over time, we may be able to actually find that we're actually not so different after all.
You know, some cultures and they believe that we come from the stars, and to the stars we shall return. What do you think about that, Carl?
I think that's an absolute truth.
Yeah, and you've got some good things about the stars and the sun. What's your favourite saying?
Well, better to be the sun in your own life than a satellite circling someone else's, because look how attractive the sun is. Whole planets revolve around him.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said about the stars.
But the sun also teaches you the thing called holy armor. You know, when you bring your light up to the point where it's shining out past your skin, it works similar to what the sun's light does. You know, if you throw a rock at the sun, it's going to either transform before it gets there or it'll be reflected away. Your own light has the capacity to do the same thing.
That's a good way of putting it. So I'm being a bit greedy here because I know Carl, and this is the first time anyone's probably heard him beyond people that know him. I'm so tempted to ask him 1,000 questions. But we'll save that for another show. So how are you on Legends and Myths, Carl?
Oh, look, I think a lot of legends and myths hold a fair amount of truth in them. I think they just get shifted and changed just tiny bits over the years through being shared mostly through word of mouth. And I think even a lot of our stories, no matter where they've come from, have shifted and changed over the time a little bit. But I think everywhere you look, you're going to still see some oneness in there, some form of truth that you can connect with. Doesn't matter what the myth or legend is. Crikey, you could even bring up hairy man and know what that means.
Yeah, true. What I'll use that to make a wedge in there that me and Carl, our culture are from different hemispheres of the world. So I'm Aboriginal woman, and Carl is
I'm a white guy.
He's a white fella. Yeah. Anyway, but it's a really good mix because between the both of us, we can cover pretty much two areas, the northern and the southern hemisphere, in legends and myths anyway. And we'd like to hear from you too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that'll eventually listen at some point that know something that others don't. And sharing it is a good way of getting it out there, because I remember being told once, knowledge is wasted unless it's shared.
True that. Another thing too, if you listen, a lot of legends and myths, they've got a lot of things in common and actually brings us together through myths and legends.
Yeah, I think there's common ground all around the world for that. And hopefully we'll be able to discuss some of that in the coming weeks as well.
So, yeah. And past lives. I was wondering if I met you before, Carl.
It's a scary thought, isn't it? And now I know where all the pain comes
from. No, I'm a bit more serious now. No, past lives. I think it's a lot of people remember their past lives. Do you?
Oh, look, you only got to look on YouTube, look up past lives, especially with the children. They remember so much detail, some of them from their previous life. And some people actually remember a lot more than that from many lives. I think it's just how would you put it? It's in the memory banks, just got to find the way to access them because they're compressed.
So we'll quickly talk a little bit about that because that's one of my favourite subjects. With the children, at what point do you think that their memory is covered, or do they forget? What do you like?
I think they're like a cup, when they're young, they haven't got much in the cup and they've still got a lot of light. Usually it's the ones that are loved a lot more that generally get this stuff flowing too, because they've got less murky energy in their body from others. So, once they start getting into the school system and that and education, their cup starts filling up with other stuff, which becomes more relevant to where they are now. And the other knowledge, like I said, gets compressed and it gets pushed down, put into smaller little bundles because it's not so much relevant for what they need to do in the world they're in today, unfortunately.
But there's times where certain events in life will push all that aside and bring forth memories, and they'll start having what I call fleshy flashes, which are like visions of past life, and things will start reminding them, and then they come and see people like us to figure out what's going on. Would you say that's correct?
Oh, absolutely. Like even our story has got a bit of a twist to it because, when I first met Luna, we were only young, and quite literally it wasn't long into our relationship that I realized that she had a ring that I'd given her from a previous life. And lo and behold, it's still with us to this day.
Oh, you don't want to go there. I don't want to go there, Carl. That's boring. Okay. No, that's true. I don't have a lot of past life memories. And some people remember, they don't get brainwashed by society, and from a child to an adult, they have beautiful, clear memories of their past lives. Personally, I believe once you've had one, it's given to you as you are capable of handling the memory. And the more you're capable of handling the memory, the more you get. That's how I kind of see it, because it has emotional repercussions. Would you say that it has emotional repercussions?
Oh, yeah, depending on the life and what you went through. Like people sometimes will even classify a soulmate as a person that they feel that is connected to them through the soul. But generally it's a person they've had many lives with, fell in love with on one level or another, and just reconnected in this life.
Cool. And that brings us to another subject we'll be talking about in the future, which is spirits, and talking about loved ones, especially spirits of the people that we love that have passed away, because then you get to have another life and see them again.
Well, that is a point of view that is shared by many around the world, and some people don't as well. So I suppose that's an area where we're going to learn to respect and not judge other people for having a different point of view, because I think that's really important in this, any spiritual development, is to accept other people where they stand and help them to accept ourselves as well if we have a different point of view. As long as we're all heading up, there shouldn't be too much of an argument.
Yeah, true that. And that'll come to living in the light.
Yeah, I think living in the light is the most important thing. And remember, every thought you have, it creates a feeling within your body. And every feeling that you generate moves a muscle, and those muscles alter the magnetic fields that are generated from your body, which is your true attractiveness. So keeping yourself more settled literally allows the energy around you to settle the world around you at the same time.
Don't stop there.
I can see where this is going.
Yeah, we're here for at least half an hour now. We can't just give them 5 minutes and then say, see you later.
The other one, I suppose, that I've taught for many years is about, how to find yourself and understand self. And one of the things that I always remind people is that they probably weren't always human, and they've come from some form of an animal shape or something similar before they become human. So they carry some of that nature with them into the human experience. You've got people that have come from herd animals, people that have come from birds, people that have come from cats and dogs, all sorts of different creatures. Some people have even come from trees and bugs. And when you consider that everybody's dominated for a period of time through their lives by this animal nature, and we even have a saying, you can't change the nature of the beast, which literally means the animal you were before you were human. It's still part of your existence. It's not until you get older in the soul that you get closer to your divine nature and you move away from the animal bindings of that nature. But most human beings are still governed by it, because we call them medium to young souls. And, well, crikey, we're all there once, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about that, because in our culture we have totems, and the spirit animal of that totem guides us because it's part of us, and that's similar to what you're saying. And I see that when I walk up the street. You can see different people's behaviour and how they belong to a certain sector. And it's like looking in nature, there's the birds over there, you've got the lizards, got the fish in the water. We haven't got that many animals here compared to some like Africa, because you'd have monkeys and giraffes and all that sort of stuff. So there'd be a bigger pool of animal totems and animal spirits to come from.
Oh, yeah, there's so much more you can talk about in this area too. But, these are areas we'd like to share with everyone else and get everyone else's input on. So we can even find the same with our connections to each other, realizing that even across distance, we bump into people that are very similar and we feel that familiar feeling with. And before you know it, you get terms like soul brother, soul sister, spirit family. And these people have all had different lives together, and their spiritual connections never change, and they kind of recognize each other when they meet again. And this can go on for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It's just part of the nature of the soul.
So you're talking about a brother from another mother and a sister from another mister.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Cool.
See, the more spiritually aware you become of yourself, the less bound to things you become, and even bloodlines become freed in this sense. So the more older soul is able to turn up in a different family for completely different experiences, so that their spirit can continue growing. We generally call them the black sheep, the common term for those that we don't understand or don't know, or a ring in. Some people even say, crikey, I think that one must have got swapped at birth, because they're nothing like us.
Do you usually find that that's the spiritual person in the family, though?
Yeah, generally, because they're the ones everyone dump their problems on and always go for when they're in trouble.
And the rest of the time calling them the black sheep?
Yeah. But there's areas that we can go into a bit further too, because there's, again, so much more to talk about, and there's so many people out there that have got things to say.
True, and questions that they probably have as well.
Someone's put an interesting question up there. When you feel like someone is a snake, what do you think that means? Is that just words we use to describe ego? I think it describes behavior. You know, when we...
Careful now.
When we were growing up.
My totem's a snake.
when we were...
Go on.
When we were growing up, we'd always hear things like the car salesman was a shark because of the behavior that they were generating. But, you know, snake is a very interesting one because generally, if you look at the behavior of a snake, you'll see it's quite different to the terminology we'd used to call someone a snake, because our impressions of a snake has always been associated to evil. And that comes from the religious side of things. So
I think they're talking about, because they slither in the grass low down to the ground, so they slither quietly, which a snake person that has ill intentions would sneak in quietly. And then the intentions themselves are very direct, because a snake could either be looking for water, food, or somewhere to sleep. But in a person being a snake, they're obviously looking for something. So their intentions would be focused.
Yeah, and they'd coil themselves around you and squash the guts out of you at times too.
Careful now. I'm too small to do that. No, but yeah, I've often wondered that. Like I said, my totem is a snake, and I hear all them things, and I always say reptiles get a bad rap, but that's just coming from my perspective. But I do understand, because even in the Bible, I believe, I haven't read the Bible personally, but it has bad raps for snake and reptile people there. But I don't know, they're talking about their behaviour or their action. Like, let's narrow this down, since this can be our first question for our first show.
Look, I honestly think it literally comes from a belief program that we have about snakes. Because when you think about a snake in a positive light, they are very close to the ground. They're very, very sensitive to vibration. And if you actually were a snake person and you saw the gifts in these areas, they become massive assets to you in life.
Well, that's how I see it, because that's how I am. Well, I know in nature, before there's an earthquake or a flood or anything like that, a major disturbance, they all the snakes come out and leave. Like, they're really, like you said, because they're very sensitive and they're really good indicators of what's going on. So that they're the positive sides. The negative sides are they'll sneak into a bird's nest and eat their eggs. But that's just their food, like.
Well, that's the nature of things.
That's just their food, yeah. Like everyone has food. Everything has food.
They are awfully cold-blooded as well.
We need the sun to warm up. Well, that's true. I need the sun to warm up. I don't like the cold. It depends how you look upon that. You can look upon negatively and say, yeah, they're poisonous, they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that. Or you can look upon it positive. We have a story in our culture. This is really painful, this story for me, because my totems are snake and goanna, right? But the story goes that the black snake lived near the village, and a goanna kept taking the children, and they didn't know how to stop the goanna man. And the black snake always came out when they needed help, and only then. So the black snake came out and said, how can I help you? And they said, the goanna keeps taking our children. And he said, I'll fix it. So one night the black snake snuck up upon goanna and beat him up and bit him and taught him a lesson. And that's why goannas have a poisonous bite, right? They can bite you and you get infected because they got a bit of the poison from the black snake, but the goanna stopped stealing children and harassing the village. So, yeah, that's the story. So you can see my anguish in that. But the point is, it's a good story about a snake, right?
Look, these are great areas to talk about too, because they're things too that I'm sure a lot of people out there have got a lot to say about it as well. You know, we always used to encourage people to look up your family tree, have a look at the crest at the top, and have a look to see what your family animal totems
That's
are.
a really good one.
If you're not a tribal person, because this way it'll give you an idea and a bit more understanding to your own nature. Now, for most people, this is applicable. For the spiritual person, they've probably bounced around quite a few lifetimes in different families, so they have a multiple nature. They can draw on many different animal aspects within themselves, which is why some people will say, oh, I've got like 10 different animals guiding me, not just one. So there are different levels to that understanding as well, which is, like I said, we'll get into that at a later date.
Yeah. Something else I remember about snakes, doesn't the healing symbol have 2 snakes on it?
Yeah, they're the snakes that rise from the Kundalini.
So
or energies, actually.
Isn't that a bit of a conflict? Like one area they give snakes a bad rap, and then all of a sudden it's a healing sign. So what's going on there? I think we unravelled a bit of one of those things that are covered up a little bit. There's a bit of an untruth going on there.
Oh, look, like I said, I think a lot of people have got different points of view and perspectives, and learn to respect those different points of view and respect is paramount.
Well, that's why I like this show, Kitchen Chronicles, because I'd love to hear other people's perspectives on different things and talk about them. And some guests that we're going to have in the future too, we can talk to them about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So where else do you want to go today for our introduction to the Kitchen Chronicles?
Look, we'll cover past lives. We'll cover people that have passed over, spiritual connections on that level. Try and take some of the fear away from it as well. Covering our connection to the stars, our connection to the Earth Mother and the Sky Father.
Can we talk about my favourite subject, giants?
Well, yeah, we can bring in a little bit of the past stuff as well, because there's certainly enough evidence there to have a little bit of a chat and see what other people think.
And the others? Can we talk about them too? The others.
Oh, the life forms that exist beyond the Earth. Yeah, why not? Yeah, that sounds like something interesting.
This is good. I'm going to enjoy this. I think it's important for us to enjoy it just as much as our listeners. Anyway, okay. What else are we going to talk about? What else is there to talk about? What about dimensions and time?
we could talk about a lot of things when it comes to spirituality, but it's one of these areas I'd like to bring other people in and let them engage a little, so that it can spark some interesting conversations. Because one of the things we'd like to achieve is to try and keep the hope and the faith alive, rather than getting anything scary and dark. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, people are looking for hope through times like this, and ways of keeping the peace inside them. And well, there are simple tools that can be shared in these areas that other people can adapt to their lives and reinforce the habits over time, so that they just become a part of them.
Talking about light and dark, I've got a question. You know how we've got people in history that write prophecies and stuff? I believe, and I'd like to know your opinion, Carl. Personally, I believe it depends where they were in the mind and heart at the time of their prophecy, which would influence the outcome, which would be their prophecy. So if they were, for instance, having a happy time and then they had prophecy, it'd be a happy prophecy, and vice versa. What do you reckon, Carl?
Oh, look, I think it ultimately depends on how people are reading the future, because
that's what I'm saying.
If you look into the future and you see the magnetic fields and the waves that reflect back what's being attracted at that particular time, depending on what's going on in the world, will give you a certain point of view of where you're going. But at any time down the track, that program, that vision of what you've seen can change just by people changing the way they feel. Because if you have a collective movement where people are all feeling and thinking the same things, they're all pulling in the same future. But if you shift people's minds to a different direction, create a new feeling, then all of a sudden they're magnetizing a completely different future.
Yeah, I agree when it comes to masses, because I feel, because you've got the individual on an individual level and their little world and what they attract, and then you've got the masses. And I'm forever concerned about the masses, like you said, what they think and how they feel. And I believe that overnight we can make a beautiful world if the masses all felt and thought in a positive way.
Well, this is where someone's put up here hope, right? Hope is actually one of the most essential things, because whenever you hold hope, you're putting light at the end of the tunnel. When you lose hope, you've just put darkness there. So it's always better to have hope regardless of what you go through. And life is struggle. You know, even a seed has to make its way through the soil, and that's struggle until it gets to the light. Once it gets to the light, it spreads out and grows and branches out everywhere, just as we do.
Okay. You notice how Carl says like 100 words and I just say a couple? Where do you get all that fluff from?
It was the baked beans earlier. We're in the kitchen, remember?
Yeah, that's right. Hey, do we get food when we do the show? Who's making the tea?
I can make you a digital one.
Then we have to share it with the listeners.
We can even get some sound effects of slurping
Oh,
coffee.
don't start there. Oh, that's going to be fun. We will have sound effects. Ooh. Well, I'm looking forward to the next few weeks. So when are you going to sit with me and have a yarn, Carl? Like, what, once a week?
Well, if you're lucky, I suppose.
Unless you're
I'm
not talking to
no.
me. Then we're in trouble, people. If he's not talking to me, we've got nothing, right? You're just going to have to listen to me. No, we're joking.
No hope. When there is nothing left but hope, you're in trouble. I like that one. That's actually pretty clever, because ultimately hope can't stand by itself. You've got to have action. The world won't fix itself while you stand idly by.
Oh, true. Isn't there a saying about idle? If you don't do anything, you're just as bad as whatever's happening. Oh, I can't remember how it went. You know that saying?
Yeah.
What is it?
I don't know. I just said I'd say yes.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for the help there. Hey, you're supposed to be your sidekick.
Well, I could, but I'd have to make the hi-ya sound at the same time. And I don't think these people would appreciate me kicking you.
No, I don't think you'd appreciate getting kicked back. We should tell them what you do for a living.
I breathe oxygen.
Yeah. You know what I say to people? Nothing. I was born alive. I asked for that, didn't I?
Absolutely.
No, tell them what we do. We should tell them what we do, because that would tell them why we're doing this show.
Well, I'm just a spiritual being having a human experience.
Okay, that's good enough. All right.
Shedding a little light into a world full of dis-ease, trying to bring a bit of ease.
All right then. And your name's Carl?
Sometimes. I've been called many things, especially in my kitchen.
So, can you tell us a story? I love stories. Tell us a spiritual story, something that happened in your life or something that happened to someone else. Maybe can you think of something off the bat like that? I'll just put you on the spot, because that's what I do.
A spiritual story.
Straight intuitive. This is another thing about our show. They're going, Carl, we'll just get on there and do it. And he goes, we need to do this. And no, we don't. It's an intuitive show. We're spiritual people. Let's just do it as it comes off the hat.
So you want me to do a once upon a time?
Yeah. Lilalu, in my language, that's Lilalu, which means a long, long time ago. Yeah. Has it got a happy ending? I don't like sad stories.
That's actually not a term you should use.
I don't like sad stories. No. Have you got a spiritual story for us?
A spiritual story?
Yeah, or something, there's hundreds of them, man.
Oh, gee.
Otherwise, I'm going to tell one and I won't shut up.
Well, go for it.
No,
it might inspire
first.
Me.
All right. What can I talk about? Remember the time we lived on that property? We had that property up in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And you said to me, I saw the nature come out to greet you, and I giggled at you. And I kind of giggled because I thought that was a funny way to be introduced to it. Anyway, what happened about a week or two later, you all left the property and I was there by myself. And guess what happened? The same damn thing. I'm sitting in there and the whole bush came up to greet me on the hill. You know, that little hill that used to be out the front of the shed? I was sitting on the hill singing and the whole bush come out to meet me and then come out and then went back in. And actually, the reason it spun me out is because it happened to you and you told me first. If it just had happened to me, I would have been really excited. But because you already told me what happened to you, I sort of got scared.
Well, actually, I called it out to me because I paid it some money to take you and keep you, but then I got scared and ran
They
away.
didn't want me, man.
I didn't pay it enough money.
You didn't pay in the right currency. All right. So, yeah, what about you? Give us a story.
A story.
Yeah.
Honestly, at the moment, I'd have
got
to.
one.
Oh,
I know one. In the beginning, there was mankind.
What came first, the chicken or the egg?
Oh, not that again, no. That's all I heard.
Look, I can probably tell you one about an animal nature just off the top of my head, right? Because we were talking about that a little bit earlier. So, you know, when you look at the nature of things, people will try and convince you that they're different, but honestly, at the end of the day, they can't change the nature of the beast that's inside them. And this is a story about a scorpion and a fox. So anyway, here's this fox. He's come down to a river and he's looking to cross it. And as he's about to step into the water, he hears a little voice and says, hey, can you give me a lift across the river? And he looks down and he sees a scorpion sitting on the ground and he looks at the scorpion and says, no, why would I do that? You'll sting me. And the scorpion said, I won't sting you. If I sting you, we'll drown. And he's thinking about it. He goes, yeah, all right. So he gets up on his back, the scorpion, and the fox starts swimming across the river. And halfway across, sure enough, the scorpion stings him. And the fox turns around and says, why did you do that? Now we'll both drown. And the scorpion says, I couldn't help it. It's my nature.
So what's your totem, Carl?
My totem?
Now you told me that story. What's your totem?
Mine's an eagle and a dragon.
Ooh. I say you're a reptile too.
Yeah, in a sense.
Yeah.
I'm just a lot warmer because I breathe fire.
Yeah, aren't birds, you're still cold-blooded. Aren't birds a form of a reptile with feathers? Because the rainbow serpent had feathers.
Yeah.
Busted.
Well, if you look at the assets...
He had me believing he was this cuddly furry thing. Now I realise he's a reptile just like me. I'm joking.
Look, when you look at your animal totems, you've got to remember that there's always a gift that comes with them. Like for me, the eagle gives me my ability to get way up off the ground and see how all the detail forms in and around me. And for those living on the ground, it even means that I can see a little bit about where they're going and what's going to happen to them down the path that they're on. So I work as a psychic most of the time, helping people in that area. And the dragon, well, it's got the ability to burn or heal people with its words. So ultimately it's on the breath. If you keep a fairly good intention and you use your words to harmonize and help other people, then generally that's what you'll deliver. And the dragon has the ability to transform things in other people's lives with just that communication skill. And there are a lot of people that have it. And like I said, there's a lot of different animal people out there. If you're a herd animal, you generally got the horns. You like to butt heads a little bit, you know. Mate more than one partner in a lifetime because they'll generally hang around the watering holes and change partners regularly throughout their lifetime. You get the mate once for lifers. Generally, birds are those kinds. They'll just pair up once for life. Some ground animals do the same thing. And then you get your player, your predator, that type. They just see you as a meal, something they can chow down on, and they don't look at you any other way. What can you do? What value do you have to my life?
Yeah, but there's very cuddly predators too. Like that word predators, we got to be careful.
Well, I turned it into player because people probably understand what that means.
Yeah, because eagle can be a predator. Like there's, you know, a bear is a predator. Do you know what I mean? What I found with people that have totems like that are bears or eagles or even reptiles, they're cuddly and warm people, but like predators, they can smell fear a mile away.
Yeah, I think too that predator is probably a poor word because we're just talking about nature. Everything eats everything else.
Yeah, it's true.
So
Do you lay eggs now that I know you're a dragon?
if she only knew.
Are those things you keep putting out in the cut? No, I'm joking. Yeah, animal totems are really interesting. They're in a lot of cultures. Hey. And what about the animal people in the old days? See, I got this belief that like the hairy man, and there used to be others like them, they were part animal but like people, and that us hairless people are responsible for their demise.
Look, excuse me. I think when it comes down to people being part animal or being able to shapeshift, I think they just become more aware of the fact that they were one before, and they can move backwards and forwards because they have that connection. I think through religion and a lot of different beliefs that have formed on the planet over the past 500 to 1,000 years, the faith of these areas have literally squashed these people out of existence, a lot of them. So we don't see it anywhere near as common as what we would have in the past.
True. Is that why I like giants so much? Because I was one once.
Well, if we weren't on air, I'd say something really cheeky.
Oh no, all right. Well, you don't be like that.
We're in the kitchen.
Yeah. Food for thought. Food for thought. Food for thought. Okay. All right. What else? Either we pick a subject and talk about it, otherwise we just keep telling them about.
Look, even the stars is a good subject, because when you think about it, most people don't look up. They don't even lift their head at least once a day.
True.
But when you start connecting with the larger body of what we're a part of, being the cosmos, you start to feel its rhythms, and it's really peaceful out there, and it starts to bring a peace into yourself. When that happens, all the mud inside goes to the bottom, and you start to get your clarity back because the light's able to shine through properly. And, well, there's a river that moves the cosmos that I believe is God's will.
Yeah, we got different views in that area. Should we tell them?
Yeah, that's all right. I don't think there's any problem with that. I think ultimately, at the end of the day, everyone's got their own points of view. Some people think they know better. Some people think they know less.
I don't mean that kind of view.
I'm honestly not saying that to you, believe me. Right?
I'm talking about...
But it's one of those areas. I'm going to get into trouble here. I can see this.
Why? Because you can't say that word.
I'm just kidding.
Because I see the world one way and he sees it another, but we still both exist in the same world. So that's a good way of explaining it, isn't it?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's if it works for you, then stick with it.
Yeah, well, that's what we said in the beginning.
Absolutely.
Right back around to the beginning again.
See, with my belief, I don't need anyone to agree with me on what I see, because I've walked it and lived it. And,
I don't agree.
It's okay. It's okay.
I can't help the fact that everyone's probably figured out that we're a couple by now. But so because of that, I can't help but have a little laugh here and there, and I'm sure Carl can't help it. And I just hope you find it really funny, because I do.
It's funny. I was always of the opinion we are one. Where's this couple come from? We're in a coupling.
That song, we are one, we are the future.
I've just got to plug in.
How can we be one when we've got two sets of clothes?
Well, stop wearing mine.
Oh, I should have said you should stop wearing mine. No, I'm joking. No, we're only joking now. All right. So,
well, part of the Kitchen Chronicles is also about humour. It's a bit
fun, I know, because some of the jokes, I tell you, spiritual humour is rare, because you need spiritual people to understand it. And if you haven't got spiritual people around you, you can't make spiritual jokes because they don't know what you're talking about.
Well, I think spirituality is about being yourself too. A lot of people put a mask on, they put a mold on and act, and really they lose attractiveness the minute they do, because truly being yourself is the most attractive part you can find and stand in.
Yeah, well, you can only be what Creator made you to be. Otherwise, you're not being true to yourself.
Are you asking me to be someone I'm not?
No. it's bad enough who you are. I'm just getting used to this version. Don't go changing on me. Oh, dear. Okay, so there's another area, and when we get into the nitty-gritty of all these conversations, the spiritual world, and we can go into the realm. Like, I want to go into the realm. Can we do that one night?
Which realm are we referring
Spirit
to?
realm.
I'm not sure if I want to be your partner in crime.
I don't steal anything. No, the spiritual realm and what it's like up there and how it functions a little bit. I'd love to have a big discussion about that.
Oh, absolutely, because everybody's got their own points of view on that as well. Because if they go by certain experiences they've been through, some people see it as offices and rooms, like I think you've actually
I'll call it the
mentioned a
big
few times.
office because it's just easier to understand that way.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I see it a little differently, but I think it's okay because we all end up in the same place eventually anyway.
Like, it doesn't really look like offices. They're ugly, actually. But it's the best way for me to explain it to people without sounding not me, you know, like, how can I explain it? Yeah, offices. You go to the big office upstairs, you know, you got your person, that creature, you got all your different departments.
Good, bad.
Yeah, you got upstairs and downstairs.
Yeah.
You got the stairwell, you know, you got the waiting room. You're like, it's all there.
And the best part is you get a guided tour.
Yeah, and you go outside, you know, it's beautiful out there. Okay. Yeah, so I'd love to have a conversation with someone who's interested to talk about that.
I've just been booted from the show.
No, you haven't. I'm talking about a guest, not kicking you out of the show.
Oh, thank you. I feel blessed.
Okay.
But remember, one of the rules that I've also learned about spirituality is to maintain your own feelings. Don't give them to other people to look after. For God's sake, they're yours. Reinforce the ones you want to stand in and stay in them, because that way, you know, if you keep your own peace and you keep yourself settled, the world will just settle around you. And I know people have a little trouble with that because it's a different kind of action. But ultimately, there's a sound wave that comes off everybody. And if you can imagine, most people, they're in that what can I do about it mode. And when they're in the what can I do about it mode, they're actually got very little influence in the world around them because they feel powerless in that statement. But spiritual people, they actually, people of faith even, have far more power in the world because every thought that they have creates a feeling, and that feeling, like I said before, creates a magnetic field, and you start pulling in that future. So if your feeling is settled and in peace, then basically you're pulling in peace. And you can even generate sound to go with it, which is why even the Tibetans, I think, chant. One of the grandfathers we know, he's a tribal fella, and he said to us once there was going to be a big earthquake over in the States, and he saw all these fellas in red and yellow robes over in Asia meditating and chanting, and they actually prevented it by using sound. And this is something that we're starting to lose in our spirituality, realizing that we've got all this power. We can generate vibration from our body that can create peace and harmony on the earth, but we spend so much time feeding the chaos rather than feeding the peace.
You just end abruptly and leave us hanging like that.
Well, I didn't want to hog the show.
No,
I mean balance. You know, I've got a set of scales
all
I've
right.
got here.
Well, I'm here. It doesn't matter. Regardless, I'm still here. No, you're right there. It is. It depends where you're from. Whenever I do any of my work, Craig always says that to me: if you're right, everything will go right. So, which means if I'm centered and I'm feeling good, and it's all happening, whatever I'm going to do will be the same. It'll have the right outcome. But singing's really important, and we've lost a lot of it because over the last couple of years in Australia, you weren't allowed to sing or dance in public or out in the street anywhere, which I realised was a ploy to do the opposite of what you just said by not being able to sing or dance and express yourself. It was pushing our spirit down and trying to put our light out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you sing just on a very simple level, which is really basically finding notes or vibrations from sounds that you're making that vibrate in different parts of your body, you can actually send light through at the same time and heal these areas.
Can I sing now?
Yeah.
I was before you were going to go, no, no more
I've
singing.
got headphones on.
Oh, but you can hear me still. And even if you can't sing, Bart, because sometimes when I sing, I don't actually sing words. I just sing sounds. I can't see from here.
Would you like to borrow my glasses?
No, they're for close up. It's long distance. I can't see. I can see what's in front of me. Thank you, Carl. I just can't see.
I thought it was coming from that snake. So close to the ground, can't see.
Horrible.
Someone has put up there, serious truth. Do you see numbers all the time, and what does it mean to you guys?
Oh, well, for me, I'm real basic, right? 1 to 10 usually is my limit. I might get an 11 or a 12 in there, but that's about it.
Well, I've been seeing 12 nearly every day for the past 2 weeks.
Have you?
Yeah. Just seems to me, I look at the clock, oh shit, it's 12. Pardon my language. It's 12 again.
That's all I can bloody swear. It's an adult trait. It's not for children. Yeah, and numbers. Yeah, I've noticed that mine's always 11 or 3 or 7. It's always been like that. I might get a 5 occasionally.
So what does it mean to you?
Depends what the number is and what happened at the time. So usually if I get a 7, that's telling me there's like magical energy about. If I get an 11, it usually tells me creator's about. If I get a 3, it's like creator set everything up and it's all going to be good because it's in that synchronicity of 3. It'll flow well. If I get a 4, it usually tells me something earthly. If I get a 5, it usually tells me that it's magical and earthly at the same time. But that's just my personal thing from having numbers pop up all my life and how I interpret them for my energy and what's happening to me. And there's people out there that do numerology and all that stuff.
So what does the number 69 mean to you? I'm being an adult and we're in the kitchen.
That some people think it's just a funny looking number and others will drop down to their lower chakra and see a whole different thing there.
We were looking for a Kundalini experience.
Well, I got a thing about that. See, that's where I'm really different, right? Some people live there and use that energy, and to me, that's a no-no. See, that's a difference. One thing we'll encounter on these shows in the future, there will be differences like that.
And male humour.
Oh, look, I can't, especially if we get certain guests on. Oh, my. I'll apologise now. That'll save anything in the future.
Why? Was it all your fault?
Nothing to do with me.
Or why are you apologising?
I'm apologising on behalf of the men on the show in the future because we are spiritual people and we can see into the future, so we might as well set things up for the future like an apology.
ZX is cursed.
ZX. Hey, ZX, how you going?
With seeing doubles and reversals.
Doubles and reversals.
I thought I should add that bit in.
Yeah. Well, there's a twist in the plot. Doubles. I can't see the chat room. I'm too far away. Hang on. G'day, Serious Truth. G'day, ZX. G'day, Malia. How are we going, everyone? Okay, now I think g'day. And I think Bernays was hanging around there too. Welcome to the Kitchen Chronicles. So numbers, yeah. What happens if you see them backwards and upside down? Is that a Heyoka energy or something?
Well, it might mean you've got dyslexia or something.
Well, that's another thing. My brother had dyslexia. And
I'm kidding, by the way.
Well, I thought you were. I wasn't. What happens if you're dyslexic? And can you be dyslexic for numbers? Or is it only
no,
words?
I'm pretty sure that's a different
You're
term.
just pulling my leg, aren't you?
Well,
yep.
We should keep that private.
behaves. I'll get. Look, I know who to
We're
bring
in the
on
kitchen,
next week.
remember? You know what men are like in the kitchen?
All right, settle
Hopeless.
down. Yeah.
Well, some of us anyway.
If you want to teach men to cook in your house, by what is it? Hello Fresh.
No, you just got to go up to them and say,
Food
"Come
for
on, baby, you
thought,
know it
food for
turns me on
thought.
when you help me cooking."
Yeah, food for thought. If we're talking about cooking, there's another area too, like what we put into our bodies and all that. Because I'm half and half. Yesterday I would have told you, have everything healthy and eat good food and drink good stuff and don't do this and don't do that. But today I'm going to tell you, do that moderately, but you got to have fun and enjoy yourself too. So what do you think?
All things in moderation.
Yeah, you got to have fun and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, because look, at the end of the day, life's about living. You know, you were given your life as a free gift. What you do with it is in your own hand. And I'm pretty sure the best way to honor the gift is to live it.
True. That's why when someone says, what do you do for a living? You go, I'm already alive. I don't need to do anything.
True. Most people probably feel they still need to pay for their living.
Some people do. That's weird. You know, when I come into this world, that was the first thing I noticed, was why do we have to pay for our food when the animals don't?
Well, I've had the Earth Mother come into my dream and ask me that same question. She says to me, you know, why do you pay for your food when I give it to you for free?
And what did you say to her?
I have no words to answer, honestly, because when I think about it, I think, gosh, where can we do that now? We have really screwed ourselves up in that area.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was a trick and a half then. Who did that? Do we talk about them?
No, because we don't want to form into negative judgments too much, because there are a lot of people out there that still believe all that pathway is correct for them. And
True.
it's not something that we really want to argue it out with. It's really just something that I think creates too much division already. And the best way to build bridges with people and help them to wake up is to find a peaceful solution.
Oh, I know. What about dreaming? I actually had a dream where I come to a bridge and I was with people and they said that I hadn't come to that bridge yet, so I couldn't cross it. But truly, I didn't really have the dream. It wasn't a joke. It's true. I can tell you, it was a little bridge. You know them gardens that have little bridges? And it was like one of them. There were all these people walking around. They were crossing bridges, but I wasn't allowed to cross that bridge yet. And they all went before me. That was weird.
Yeah.
What significance do bridges have in this world?
Well, that dream was definitely giving you a strong message about something you haven't finished.
Dreams. That's another realm.
haven't woken up or learned.
I got a question for you, Carl. I asked my mum this question the other day. Well, it wasn't a question. I actually just posed it because we all got our own answers. So, this life, we're actually somewhere sleeping, and when we pass over, we wake up and everyone in that somewhere place where we're sleeping goes, hey, you've been asleep all day. What do you it's good about time you wake up. It's a possibility, eh?
Well,
this is really the dream time.
Well, the best part about dreams is the waking up.
True.
Better to focus on waking up than wondering what.
I don't know. There's some dreams I didn't want to wake up out of, I've got to say.
Yeah, we can't talk about those dreams.
You weren't there. What are you talking about?
I can see where this is leading.
No, I'm joking. It wasn't that kind of dream at all. These spiritual dreams. I was in beautiful places. You know? I remember once, actually I was in the desert in America with Native American people, and a grandfather that we know was gifting me beadwork and all that sort of beautiful stuff. Why would you want to wake up from a dream like that? And there were horses.
Because there's a time for everything.
To wake up.
Yeah.
And I also had another dream that I was, when I first come to this place and I hadn't woke up properly, and I felt like I was in a seed pod, and you come along and went, oi, what are you doing? Get up. And you woke me up, and I still can't get over that. You should have let me sleep a little bit more.
We needed to make babies.
Oh, how many lifetimes was that? How many kids? If I've met you in a past life, right? How many kids have we had?
Well, I can't speak for you, but I know I've had
No, I'm talking
more
about
kids than I can
I
poke a
didn't
stick
talk
at.
about meeting other people. I'm talking about me.
With
I know you've
you
met
and
other
I.
people. Huh?
Oh, I haven't actually looked, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you stop counting. I'm joking. All right, back on a serious note, we've had our fun. What haven't we covered quickly? And I got 1,000 questions. You know, when we get into this, I'll have 1,000 questions.
Well, it's funny. ZX put up something here. Imagine a high dimension 5D. I actually thought that was 5G. Sorry. But that actually is pretty clever. These forms of
5D.
life cannot exist in a 3D dimension, and the same as we cannot exist in a 2-dimensional.
So how do we think? Do we think in 3 dimensions or 2 dimensions? Do we dream? How do we dream? What do we dream in? I know people that dream in black and white.
Yeah, I
Do
still
they
have.
dream in 2D or 3D?
Most people that dream in black and white, I think, still dream in the 3-dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not color.
Has anyone had a cartoon dream? I never have. I think it would scare me if I had a cartoon dream. Have you ever had a cartoon dream?
No.
No?
I don't try and let that stuff settle in my brain too much to be used.
Hey, can I ask another question? Have you ever had a gamer dream? Because I'm not a gamer, but I know it, nearly everyone I know is. Have you ever had a gamer dream?
I've had a dream associated to a game that I was playing at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a magical game.
Of course
so it was a magical dream, right? We were using
I could have said that.
all these wonderful powers.
Yeah.
I felt like a superhero.
My dreams are like that anyway. That's why I don't like waking up, because they're like that all the time.
Yeah. Well, I've never had a black and white dream either. Mine have
Yeah.
always been colour.
Yeah, mine are colour. I remembered a dream I had the other day that I hadn't remembered for a long time. I don't know where that fits in our category of what's coming up. Do you want to hear about it?
Well, you're quite welcome to share it.
Because you were in it.
Well, that's scary.
It was a good dream.
Was it mine?
No, we were on a property, and there was this white dome building. And we'd only just got there, and we were like, wow. And there was a big white house as well, but this building was in the garden. It was all big lawns. And this building was next to this beautiful big white house. And we just pulled up in the car and got out, and there was me and you and some other people. And we're like, wow, what is this place? And we opened the doors of this building, and the room was empty. It was all white inside, and on the back wall was a mural. And it was a mural of a woman with long black hair on a white horse and 7 monks, bald monks, on each side. And as we were standing there looking at the mural, it come alive. And the story began, and they were leaving this realm. And the monks were walking up into the mural, into the middle of the picture and disappearing. They were leaving this realm. And just before they kind of disappeared, the lady on the horse and turned around and said, no, I can't leave the humans alone. They need help. I'm going back. And she turned her horse around and started coming back. And one of the monks came with her. And then I woke up. That's a cool dream, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now know why I don't like waking up. So tomorrow, don't wake me up. No, I'm joking. So, yeah, is that a cool dream?
Yeah.
That wasn't a normal dream, that one. And there's different kinds of dreams.
I like the dreams when I realise I'm dreaming and I just go straight up in the air. Flying is something I absolutely love when I'm dreaming.
Would you call the different levels of dreaming like different dimensions? Is that I always have a trouble with that word dimension, because are they talking about different levels? Because I see things.
Well, I just call it
sections,
dreaming area. It's just somewhere
the dreaming place. Yeah.
And there are different places where your mind will take you depending on where your spirituality's at. Some people are still caught up in the physical world, so most of their dreams are based around their physical understanding of reality. But spiritual people tend to have far more amazing dreams because their imaginations are much broader and they're stretched out.
And I've met people that have no dreams at all. I found that hard to believe, but do you reckon it's true?
Maybe in some cases.
You reckon that some people don't have any dreams at all? I suppose, why would they bullshit about something like that? They wouldn't. That's why when they told me, I believed them, and it kind of freaked me out. Are they them NPP? What are they? NPC players?
Oh, look, there are many levels within that realm where people play. Some people are aware in there, and if they've got good intentions, generally good things happen in around those people. But if they've got naughty intentions, they will play games in there as well. They haven't learned there's consequences in them areas.
Yeah, I know that. But if someone don't dream, does that mean that they're actually dreaming and they forget, or they actually don't dream at all?
Maybe they've just blocked them.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, because I still think once you get into a certain space, your mind will float into other areas to absorb and understand what you've been through and process what you haven't processed. And sometimes if you've got major questions, they'll come up in your dreaming area and you'll explore it there and how to solve it.
So, because I believe personally that dreaming has a sense of reality, and I've had an experience where I've taken something from a dream and it's actually come into reality. You're laughing at me?
No, I'm laughing at some of the stuff that ZX is putting up. I'm not laughing at you, ZX. It's just making me smile.
Oh, look out, ZX. No, I'm joking. Did you hear what I said about bringing things from the dream world into reality?
Yeah, I think some people can actually do that as well. You know, I've one of the things that I learned from we'll use the term martial arts was that a lot of people could actually calculate what they were going to do in their mind before they actually physically did it. And depending on the skill of their mind could determine the outcome of whatever they were going to do before they even entered it.
Yeah, that's true. I know about that because I did martial arts myself.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things you can actually do from the mind space that people aren't fully aware of. And the more you understand self, the more you understand the way the world turns around you and the more influence you have in it.
Nice. All right. Well, I think we've covered nearly everything, and what we haven't covered, we're going to cover in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll finish it up there. It's been wonderful having all you guys listening. And thanks very much for coming.
It's been, thanks. I was going to say, it's been wonderful listening, Carl. No, thank you everyone for coming. I'm just being funny. This is a different side of me. All right. So, yeah, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for coming and being in the chat room and participating. Our next show, we're going to open up our conversation so we can listen to the people, and if you've got questions or you just want to have something to say and tell us about your stuff, we'll be doing that in the future. So, yeah, other than that, is there anything else, Carl, before we go? Oh.
No, we'll wrap it up there. You guys have a good night. For us, it's a night. It's probably daytime for some of you guys. So enjoy your day, and we'll catch up with you guys next time.
So, yep. And, yeah, love to you on this day, and smile until you feel it. Stay centered, and we'll see you next week. Yalu.
Bye for now.